This is the Blood Red podcast from the Liverpool Echo.
Hello everybody and welcome to Monday's Blood Red podcast with myself, Sean Bradbury. We're going to take a little look back at Brighton at the 2-1 win and of course look ahead to the small matter of Everton rocking up to Anfield on Wednesday for the Merseyside Derby. And with me to do that are two of the Echo's finest, two certain Ballon d'Or nominees in my eyes at least. It's the big man Paul Gorst, always looks good in the suit. Gorst, how are you?
Thanks for that, Sean. Yeah, I'll take that. Yeah, I'm good. Yeah. Start of a new week. Ballon d'Or awards tonight. Merseyside Derby Wednesday. December is about to get a lot busier, isn't it?
Absolutely is. And to discuss the start of December, we also have with us Caoimhe O'Neill. Caoimhe, have you ever won any awards yet? Anything on the mantelpiece?
I've actually won the Ballon d'Or, so a little exclusive for you there.
Got that boxed off?
Yeah, beat Messi and Van Dijk to it, yeah. It's mine.
Oh, there you go. Virgil's trying to take it off you tonight. And we will come on to that a little bit later on, but we're going to start with a pretty bonkers game on Saturday, just when you think Liverpool are actually about to coast to a reasonably routine home win for once in the season that's unfolding so far. It does not happen. You were both there. Caoimhe, you were making your press box debut, and Gorst, you were there as usual. Paul, we'll start with you. What did you make of that? Bit of a mad one on Saturday?
It was totally in keeping with Liverpool's season so far, wasn't it? I mean, for 75 minutes, it was as comfortable as it's been all season in any game, in any competition, and it was all nice and easy and routine and just a standard home win. And then a moment of madness from Adrian completely turns the game on its head, and Liverpool are panicking and desperate for the last 10 minutes, and it just didn't really need to be like that at all, did it? Van Dijk with a couple of headers from two great deliveries from Alexander-Arnold. Wasn't a whole lot more going on. Liverpool probably should have had a third with Mane or Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain in the second half. Brighton had a couple of chances with Lewis Dunk, who I thought, as an aside, was excellent on the day. But Liverpool just don't do routine anymore, do they? They just seem to keep the fans on the edge of the seat every single week now, and at some point they're going to have to start putting teams to bed earlier, because they can't put the fans through this for the rest of the season. We were bad enough in the press box, so God knows how the 12,000 fans on the Kop were feeling when it was the last 5 minutes. But yeah, they've got the results, and I think it was a massive result when you think City's results early in the day, drawn at Newcastle, and obviously what was happening at Stamford Bridge at the same time with West Ham winning 1-0. So it's now 11 points between Liverpool and City. 14, I think, is it? Chelsea are off. So it's only looking like now that it's Leicester who are putting up a bit of a fight to try and keep it a two-horse race. So yeah, I mean, it was a big result for Liverpool. A bit unnecessary how it came about, but crucially the win was there at full time.
Caoimhe, as we mentioned, it was your press box bow at Anfield, reporting on Liverpool for the Echo. How was it then? Nerves jangling at the end, or were you always confident?
It was a difficult one. If you kept up to date with our live blog coverage, you'll know I was very cold throughout the entire match. Every other blog entry I was saying, I'm freezing. It was honestly so cold. I've never felt cold like that. But, anyway, other than that, it was an enjoyable experience for me, obviously. But the good thing about it, I was writing that Alisson was banned then. I was writing the breakout on that. So I didn't kind of watch the last 10 minutes because it was just, my head was down, and I felt like, do you know what? That saved me.
It's the best way to do it.
Saved me a heart attack at least, because it was just, like Paul said, it's Liverpool, we were hoping, I think I said on a podcast leading up to this, that, Liverpool would do a game where you felt like they'd just, go out and win 4-0, and it felt like it was going to be that game until they had that 2-goal cushion. It just felt like they eased off prematurely, and then they allowed Brighton back into it. We've seen Brighton beat Tottenham, didn't we, quite convincingly not long ago, and they're probably going to be struggling this season, but they played really well, and I thought Liverpool caused their own sort of problems in regards to that, because obviously the tempo just seemed to dissipate almost, and we were letting, and that's so unusual. Obviously we're unbeaten at Anfield for such a long time, but it's so unusual to watch the other teams have a lot of the ball. Obviously City did the other week when they were pushing, but that was an end-to-end game, where it just felt like the second half we just gave so much of it, the possession, to Brighton, and I feel like it was a bit nervy after that, wasn't it? Alisson there were a couple of moments before he done that where he'd cleared the ball and ran at, we know he's that type of keeper, don't we? He's a sweeper keeper. He likes to get out to the ball. But there was a couple of edgy ones, and I was thinking, he's in one of them moods today. He just needs to stay calm and keep back. And I haven't even seen that goal back, I don't think. But obviously he made a poor mistake there, but we've seen him make that mistake against Leicester and last season. There's not many of them in his bag, and now obviously Adrian will have a chance to keep Liverpool's second clean sheet.
Well, staying with Alisson, Gorst, I think one of the most read stories on the Echo website in reaction to the match this weekend was basically a piece where fans were all just trying to work out exactly what he was playing for that incident.
Yeah.
What do you think it was? Was it just like an instinctive thing? That's just a instinctual reaction to when the ball's in that position. Did Lovren put him under a little bit of pressure, or?
It was definitely an instinct thing, wasn't it? Was it Leonardo Trossard even who basically tried to poke it past him, and he's just forgot where he was, and he's just an instinct for a goalkeeper to stick out a hand, and that's what he's done. Martin Atkinson, who's not the favourite ref on the Kop, the poor fans could have a few complaints with his decision to send them off. So we missed the Merseyside Derby, but I think you can you actually can count on one hand the amount of mistakes that Alisson's made since he joined from Roma for 65 million last summer. You're thinking of the one at Leicester, the one the other day, the one against Manchester United at home, and possibly the one against Fulham last season at Craven Cottage. And none of them have cost Liverpool any points. So I suppose that is a big tick in his box. But he's not, I don't think it just hasn't really got going this season, has he, Alisson? He hasn't kept a clean sheet all season. Liverpool have only kept 2, and they both when Adrian was in goal. He's had that calf injury, just kept him out for 2 months. He's been shown a straight red, and he's going to miss the Merseyside Derby. Just really seems to be having a tough time getting going, really, this season, after such an incredible year for club and country last season. But he'll come back in, I'd imagine, after the Derby. He should be back between the sticks at Bournemouth and a chance to really get his season up and running.
Like Gorsey says, Caoimhe, obviously it is more misfortune for Alisson, but the Adrian fairy tale, I suppose, continues. Are you almost kind of happy to see him get another chance? He's done the Reds proud so far this season.
Yeah, well, as Paul nicely put it yesterday in one of his pieces, this is his second act now, isn't it? And a chance for him to come in. And I read someone had tweeted the last time a goalkeeper got sent off in the Premier League for handling outside the box was actually Adrian in 2015, really? Which I found quite interesting, whether that's true or not. But yeah, I think, he come in, didn't he? He was the Super Cup hero, and obviously Alisson hasn't really got going since that injury sustained against Norwich. I feel like Adrian, we're due a clean sheet, and you felt like if it didn't come at Brighton, we would get it against Everton, because it's inevitable that Liverpool will get a clean sheet. But he was really cold, wasn't he? He was as cold as me, because that my heart was in my mouth when he sort of fumbled and the ball was about to go in, and it just seemed like it wasn't going to be his day and he was going to come on. He conceded so quickly, but I felt like that was a bit of a poor decision to let that be taken so quickly when he wasn't ready. He thought it was a bit cruel of Martin Atkinson, but I'm looking forward to seeing him on Wednesday night. I think he'll do himself proud. He reminds me of like the players we had last season who were them ever professionals. Obviously Mignolet would have been almost loving this chance, wouldn't he, if he was still at the club? It's massive for him, really, because you think Alisson's likely to win as the new award tonight, isn't it, at the Ballon d'Or for Goalkeeper of the Year, and he's likely to win that. He is the best goalkeeper in the world, you'd argue. So there's not the chances are few and far between. He's probably not going to keep Alisson out of the team, is he? But he'll give it a good go, and he's definitely a good understudy.
In terms of where the goals for Liverpool came from, Gorst, we've already mentioned, as yourself said, two for the big man, 2 for Virgil van Dijk, both whipped in by Trent. Is it good to see so far this season the goals being spread around the team? Obviously, you've had the defence chipping in, Lovren midweek. I think Trent scored, hasn't he? And the midfield as well. They've been having a go. Oxford's got a few. Henderson got that big one against Spurs. But I think this was, if I'm right in saying, this was in one of our pieces online today. This was the first league match at Anfield in a year in which one of the front three hasn't scored. He's starting to get a little bit of concern around them going into this busy period, or you're just thinking, well, the goals are coming? No,
I'm not actually. I think the goals will come for them at some point. I mean, it's great that Liverpool are sharing around the goal scoring burden, because if it was just the front three scoring all the goals, then all you'd hear is if they're off song, then Liverpool are knackered. So I think it's a great thing that Liverpool are sharing it around. It's good to see the midfielders contributing a bit more. Obviously, Wijnaldum got the winning against Sheffield United, didn't he? Adam Lallana got an equaliser against Manchester United. Jordan Henderson got an equaliser against Tottenham. I think the only one who hasn't scored obviously Fabinho scored against Manchester City, didn't he? And you've still got Xherdan Shaqiri coming in who's barely played this season. Obviously, he's got plenty of goal threat in him as well. Liverpool have actually had more goal scorers this season than they had for the entirety of last season. So it shows you that they are spreading it around a bit more. And it's good to see, because on a rare day when, I mean, it doesn't happen very often, but when, if Mane's off song, then Salah is normally firing, or if Firmino has a quiet game, Mane's the one who's scoring the goals. But when all three of them do have quiet days, as they did on Saturday, it's great that Liverpool have got an option to score from other areas. I think I heard Alan Shearer on Match of the Day say Virgil van Dijk scored the most in the Premier League as a defender for the last 2 seasons. So great to see him adding to that. And I think it's a great thing that the goal scoring burden's being spread about.
Another way, we've mentioned them already, but Trent Alexander-Arnold, Caoimhe. Gomez, I thought when he came in against Napoli, it wasn't just on him. There was a bit of a struggle coming down that right hand side with him and Henderson and Salah. It wasn't the kind of normal fluid little triangle you get on the right hand side with Trent. I mean, he showed again there, didn't he, that the ability he has, it's allowed Liverpool essentially to win a game cheaply with his set piece ability. He's just, I know we've said this a lot, but he's so important to this side, isn't he?
Yeah, massively. He was on a hat-trick of assists, which obviously he got last season, didn't he, against Watford, setting up Van Dijk as well. I think I read before he's made the most crosses in the Premier League this season, 160, which is phenomenal, really. His distributions pinpoint at times, isn't it? He's an assist king in his own right. He's 21. It's quite remarkable, really. I think we sort of forget how young he is and what he's accomplished so far, and that he'll probably be playing for Liverpool Football Club for the next 10 plus years. We really are lucky to have him. And it's almost like now you just expect it. So if he has a game where he doesn't get an assist, it's kind of like a shock, isn't it? Now it's like, oh my God, Trent hasn't had an assist. But then Gomez comes in, and obviously we're just so used to Trent being on the right, and he is just so technically gifted, isn't he, and creative on the ball. And I don't think Joe Gomez offers that same kind of sort of going forward, does he? I wouldn't think he's a lot bigger, I'd say, and I just think he's a bit more clunkier going forward. But he still does a good job. And I think if we didn't know Trent, if Trent didn't play for Liverpool, we'd probably be really happy with what Gomez does. It's just that we've seen a world class right back and then someone who's really a centre half trying to fill in at right back. But yeah, you can use all the superlatives in the world. He's just a stunning footballer, and I don't think it'll be long before he captains this Liverpool team.
Wouldn't be surprised at all. In terms of the final outcome then, Gorst, another 2-1, which seems to be becoming almost a default scoreline for Liverpool this season. Is there any kind of nerves or any concern that Liverpool, they keep winning, and obviously a lot of people are saying this is the sign of champions, this is how you go about doing it, especially with the the amount of late rallies we've seen to claim all 3 points in crucial situations, but only just doing it, just squeaking through games, is that could it be costly in the final analysis? Yeah,
it definitely could. There's only so many times you're going to be able to do that throughout the whole of the season, and I think for 24 games now, Liverpool have got to start playing a bit more and putting teams to the sword when they're on top, because I think this is 8 times now in all competitions they've won 2-1, 7 in the Premier League. Sometimes you can get by with games like the Tottenham game where you fight back from conceding early on and you get the win that you deserve. But games like Palace, Villa is the standout one, isn't it, with 2 goals in the last 5 minutes. You're not going to be able to do that for the entire course of the season. So Liverpool at some stage are going to have to start, a bit like a couple of seasons ago when they got to Kiev, that type of season where they have a burst of 20 minutes and they'll score 2 or 3. They perhaps need to start doing that on a little bit more of a regular basis, just to make sure that it's a lot more comfortable. They're not playing for 95 minutes every single week. They can rest up and put the foot on the gas and slow the tempo a little bit more, because they're not going to be able to do it for the next 24 games. I mean, it's remarkable that they've been able to do it so often already in the games that they played. So I'd imagine Klopp will want a few more routine victories between now and May.
Never mind Klopp, I want them.
Yeah.
Just want a good 3-0. I'm sure it's coming. It feels like it is. It's got to, hasn't it? Like naturally, the Lord of Science just surely will enable Liverpool to just win the next game or the game after 3 or 4-0. I think we all need it just so you can get your verdict and all that done, Paul.
we thought Saturday was going to be the day, didn't we? And then with 15 minutes to go, it's all of a sudden Liverpool down to 10.
Chaos. It was chaos.
And it's 2-1 and Adrian's picking the ball out of his net before he's even had a touch. No doubt he was caught cold and it was a poor mistake from him. I don't think Liverpool can have too many complaints about the quickly taken free kick because they benefited from a quickly taken set piece against Barcelona in May, didn't he? So,
True.
Swings and roundabouts, I suppose. But Adrian should have been a lot more alert. But, Liverpool squeezed through and got the what could actually be a massive 3 points when you look at the results that weekend.
Last point on Brighton then, Caoimhe, is obviously the last 15, Liverpool were always going to be under the cosh a bit because of the circumstances of what went on. But I think overall, looking at the stats, Brighton had 55% possession, so they shaded it overall. Last 15 minutes, it was knocking on for 90%. And I got the sense that after Liverpool went 2-0 up, there was a little bit of standing off, a little bit less pressing. You had the odd person, maybe Ox or Wijnaldum a couple of times scurrying forward to try and win the ball. But to me, it did look like they were playing within themselves a little bit. Do you think there's maybe a sense that, given how busy and hectic the fixture schedule is at the minute, that they maybe are trying to just rest the legs and have the odd 45 off, especially when, it was 2-0 at the time?
Like Paul mentioned, then they need to do that, but I don't think that was the case. They needed another goal. You felt like a goal was coming as well in the beginning of the second half. You felt like a goal was coming any minute for Liverpool, but then the tide just turned quite quickly, and Brighton were just on top then throughout the remaining minutes of the match. I think Liverpool do need to work on that in terms of just getting that third goal, because 2-0 is the worst scoreline in football, as we know. Once Brighton half the deficit, you get that whole massive momentum, and they had that, and it looked like Adrian made a couple of good saves after that, didn't he? The one where he really dived over.
Adam Moore, yeah.
That was such an important save, because if we you've watched Man City 2-2, obviously Jonjo Shelvey gets that important goal for us in the title race. You're thinking City are now 11 points off. If Liverpool would have wielded that to Brighton and let and drop 2 points in a similar fashion to City, I think it would have just been detrimental to how then Guardiola and his setup, and they're thinking, that is, because Liverpool have only drawn obviously to United this season. I just think if you do, you can't. I don't think they can't let the foot off the gas until the game is completely won. And I know they need to rest, and you want to make them subs. I was just glad Klopp didn't, because he'd made 2 subs, hadn't he? He took Salah and Firmino off, and then obviously luckily enough he hadn't, because otherwise we would have had a Kyle Walker moment, wouldn't we? And had to play.
Who would you have gone for if you had to throw the gloves to someone there?
Probably would have been Van Dijk.
Yeah, the big man.
Yeah.
No,
could do everything.
Want him heading it away.
Heading him away.
Yeah.
Lovren, probably, maybe, would you reckon?
Candidates.
Hopefully we never have to.
We've never seen it, yeah.
Well, before we move on to Wednesday, obviously Everton at Anfield, just a quick word on the title race then. I think you both touched on it already, but that 11-point gap back to City now, Gorst, does that feel insurmountable? Would you almost rule them out at this stage? I mean, even if they do beat Liverpool at the Etihad, which obviously a huge possibility when that game comes around, where do you think another 8 points would come from?
I mean, if I was Liverpool looking up at that 11-point gap, I'd probably say Liverpool were out of it. I'm not saying City are out of it just because maybe we've been burnt a bit too much, haven't we? City now need Liverpool to lose 4 games, and this is a team that have lost 1 in over 50. So it's going to be extremely difficult for City to claw those points back. They're going to have to virtually win every game for the rest of the season, which is 24 games, and still hope Liverpool stumble majorly. How many times, how many draws, and City have still got to play Leicester, I think. Well, they've obviously got to play them twice, play them again, but I don't think they played each other this season, have they? I think they've pretty much got to play the majority of the top 6 again before the next set of fixtures roll around, if you like. So it's going to be hugely difficult for City to get near Liverpool, looking at it at this stage. But Leicester, you could tell when they got the result against Everton yesterday what that meant to them, and they believe that they're in with a shout. So you can't really discount them, to be honest, because they've been fantastic so far this season.
Do you think Leicester, Caoimhe, are emerging as the credible threat to Liverpool? Because I guess they've got no Europe. It's obviously Rodgers is in charge. He's a little bit similar to Liverpool in 13-14.
Yeah, I think if you look at them, Jamie Vardy obviously was the hero that season. He scored 6 goals in 6 games now, or maybe even more. But I know he'll be knocking on his own record of scoring in 11 consecutive games soon. I just think they're playing with confidence. I know they didn't play the best yesterday, Leicester, but they've done what Liverpool have been doing and scored a late goal to win it. I just feel like they have done. They didn't look at yesterday, but they've probably looked the best team in the league this season. Liverpool and Man City haven't quite been there. I know Liverpool have won a lot of games and were 8 points clear of Leicester and 11 in front of City, but I think Liverpool have played the best football in terms of, obviously, Leicester absolutely battered Southampton, didn't they? And performances like that stand out in your mind. That'll go down as probably the best performance of the season already. I don't really see them actually challenging for the title. I've still got this feeling they're just going to fall away. Obviously, Rodgers is being linked away with Arsenal and things like that. I think can distract. Leicester will be looking over the shoulders a little bit. I think they'll get top 4, but I think. I am a Liverpool fan, and you'd like to think Liverpool will, steam right through to the Premier League title in May. But obviously, we know what Man City are capable of. They won 14 games in a row to claw it back last time. They're more than capable of doing that again. But Liverpool can only drop as many as 3 points in one match day. So obviously, then that takes you into the next. If you drop 3 points on Wednesday, then you've got to win at the weekend to get that back. So I don't think you can't lose it. It's not like it's a 4-point lead and you drop 3 points and they're a point behind. Because obviously City play Burnley tomorrow night and then Liverpool play Everton, and that was the way it was towards the end of the season, wasn't it? They'd always play in front of Liverpool, but now Liverpool have this gap. It's like they can sit back a little bit and think we've got this. But again, I'm not entirely sure Liverpool will go unbeaten. I'm sure we'll drop points along the way. Still a long way to go, but invincible thus far.
Indeed. Well, we'll move on to Wednesday night's matters now. The Blues, it's fair to say, fairly beleaguered, and there is 26-point gap between Liverpool in first and Everton down in 17th. Just had a look before. If you had those 26 points, you'd be fourth. Chelsea got 26 and they're in the Champions League places. Gorsty, then we'll start with you. I have to say I'm having a growing trepidation ahead of this one. I just starting to get a few concerns. I mean, obviously Silva's under massive pressure, isn't he? Everyone knows this, and it does feel like a bit of a stay of execution at the minute in terms of his stewardship of Everton. But the thing for me is, from Everton's perspective, certainly in recent memory in the Premier League era, can there ever have been lower expectations coming into a derby? And how does that make you feel? Does that make you think, well, if they say the form book goes out the window, this one could be, the biggest one of them we've ever seen?
Yeah, looking at it, as long as I've been watching football, I don't think I've ever seen as big a gap between Liverpool and Everton as there is right here today. It's quite remarkable how far ahead Liverpool are now. And I made a similar point to Manchester United earlier in the season when Liverpool went to Old Trafford. Over 20 years, Everton haven't won at Anfield. So when you mention that about the form book, that is very much the form book, isn't it? That hasn't really gone out the window because Everton just seem to be struck by maybe an inferiority complex when they come across Stanley Park and they head to Anfield. Last season they played very well. They were very unfortunate to get beat with Divock Origi's 96-minute winner. If it hadn't been for a wonder save from Alisson, they might have even nicked it with Andre Gomez. But the shape that they're in now, they're up the wall, aren't they? I mean, they played well in spells against Leicester yesterday. At Leicester, it was a difficult place to go. They were hugely unfortunate not to come away with a point. But at the moment, they are in the doldrums. And Silva is probably down to his final hours as manager, I'd say, from the outside looking in. And Liverpool have to be ruthless, have to take advantage of it, have to win, and make sure that Everton's derby record for the decade stands at 1 win.
Well, that record that Gorsty's mentioned, Caoimhe, going back to 1999 in terms of not having lost a derby at Anfield, do you kind of see that as a reason that the Reds should swagger into the game and the fans should take that into Anfield as well and think, well, look, it's a long time, it puts the pressure on Everton, or at some stage to start to think, well, it's on us to preserve that and they're due one almost?
I don't know, because it's similar to sort of the record we've got at Anfield at the minute. We're unbeaten. I don't think they go into the match thinking if we lose, then the record will be gone. I think the opposition will come in. Everton will come in thinking it's a big chance. You feel like that record will eventually get broke. You'd think Everton will eventually beat Liverpool at Anfield. It seems unlikely on Wednesday night, but you just don't know because they've got absolutely nothing to lose. Marco Silva's, on the brink, really, isn't he? He might not. Everton could win that game, and he still might get sacked. It's just, it doesn't. The 2 points off the relegation zone. It is completely bizarre. Obviously, we finished well ahead of them last season, but I've never known Everton to be this far behind Liverpool. It's odd, isn't it? Because usually they're up there or up about. They've finished above us, haven't they, a few times, and in the last 20 years, but still they haven't been able to get that Anfield win. You do, as a fan, I think fans will be a little bit nervous about it because, it's your workplace, your colleagues, your family. Like my brothers are blue, and, it's as soon as, Everton, Liverpool, it is, it's a family affair, I think, isn't it, in terms of, someone who's an Everton fan.
Yeah.
And, or you might just sit next to one like me.
Yeah, several
all around us. So yeah, I think it's that kind of thing, isn't it? You don't want to lose just more so for that, but you definitely, Liverpool do not want to relinquish that record, because I think that could be so damning, couldn't it? It could really damage Liverpool's title credentials almost. Yeah. Just knowing that like Everton have beat you at Anfield, and then what does that give to City, who've probably beat Burnley the night before? You've got to think of that. I don't think the players will roll into that game with loads of confidence. You can already sort of picture the Merseyside red tweets after it, but I think the fans, it's a different case, isn't it? I feel like it's a different feeling. Yeah,
Liverpool haven't lost, as you say, haven't lost in the Premier League since April 2017. Everton haven't won a game at Anfield for over 20 years. Surely they're not gonna do it on Wednesday night. It's just unthinkable for those of a Liverpool persuasion.
Well, yeah, it certainly is. A couple more points on this then. Everton have only scored 14 goals in 14 games in the league this season, but one thing, whenever I watch them play, and like yesterday, like you said, Gorsty, they actually gave a reasonable account of themselves. I thought, at Leicester were obviously unlucky in the sense of how late the Leicester winner was, but they do look like they've got, despite their lack of goals in the league at least, quite a lot of match winners. I mean, Sigurdsson can always hit one. Dean can take a free kick. I think Richarlison's the type of player who can get something out of nothing. Is there anyone who individually, in that sense, does concern you going into Wednesday? Yeah,
the three you mentioned there, Sigurdsson can always pull a rabbit out the hat, can't he? You've seen what he did at Anfield in the FA Cup nearly 2 years ago. He equalised on the day, didn't he? They've got some talented players, there's no doubt about it, and I don't believe for 1 second that these players have stopped playing for Marco Silva, given what I watched at the King Power yesterday. Our Everton correspondent, Phil Kirkbride, fantastic work in getting a sit-down chat with Marco Silva amongst all his troubles last week, and he said the same effect. These players are still playing for me, so it's not a case of them heading to Anfield. Okay, they're in poor form and they haven't picked up many points, but they're not going there where they've given up. They'll definitely be putting in a shift, and they'll know what it means to the Everton fans. The 3,000 or so travelling across to Anfield, they'll know what it means to them, and they'll be making a hell of a noise in the away end. So, it's not going to be an easy game for Liverpool by any stretch, even though the record's terrible and they're in great form. So it will be a tough one, but Liverpool just can't, a defeat just can't enter Liverpool's thoughts on Wednesday night, because City playing 24 hours earlier, and Leicester Wednesday or Tuesday.
Oh, I'm not sure actually.
But obviously they're in action as well, so Liverpool have got plenty of motivation to win this game on Wednesday.
Keith, I think Gorsy's touched on this, but as poor as Everton have been this season, and with everything that's swirled around Marco Silva and the club in general, they did give a reasonable account of themselves in derbies last season, particularly at Anfield. Do you think they might try and carry a little bit of that into the game and think back? Obviously, didn't end well for them at Anfield, but they were reasonable throughout the 90, and they could well have taken a point, if not more. Do you think that will mean something in terms of their psychology going into it?
Yeah, I think they'll try and clutch to whatever they can in terms of confidence, because obviously it's rock bottom at the minute. They didn't look like a team playing with no confidence at all. There is something there, like Paul said, that they are still playing for Marco Silva, but I just think I don't know if Liverpool get an early goal and that just puts their heads down a little bit. I think they'll come out fighting like Liverpool will as well. I think that first goal, and if Everton can score, obviously we know they scored in the first half yesterday and it didn't quite end well for them, but I just feel like it just feels like one of them games that's going to be really intense, and if Everton can get a point, I think that'll even be massive for them, to stop Liverpool's winning streak would be, like we saw last season, the Man United and Everton games, they were the only two teams able to stop Liverpool, on that title march, and those points were the ones that really cost Liverpool. Mm-hmm. I think that it then is more, it's almost like you're not playing the actual fixture, you're sort of playing this, you're playing the rivalry, aren't you? And, I think Liverpool ought not to do that, because obviously it cost them dearly last season, but United and Everton are the only teams capable of doing that. Doesn't matter what 11 Everton line up with, it's just Everton Football Club who are able to do that, and so Man United, just because that long rivalry we've had with, obviously, that our neighbours, and United, the Northwest rivalry, which has been running for a long time. So I think it doesn't necessarily matter, does it? I think Everton will just come out, but I'm sure Liverpool provide the answers like they have done all season.
Mm-hmm. Well, two things remain then in terms of the Everton game. First one, picking Liverpool's starting 11. Obviously, Adrian is in goal. We've discussed why that is the case already.
I was going to throw Lonergan in myself.
Lonergan, go ahead. It's time. Come on, Andy. Keller. So keeper boxed. Back for Gorsty, from what Klopp was saying the other day, it's far too soon for Matip. So do you think it'll just be as was?
I think so. I think Lovren deserves to keep his place. I think he's been excellent alongside Van Dijk for the last 3 or 4 weeks. Don't see any reason to change that.
Caoimhe, do you concur there'll be no changes at the back for you?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think Lovren's been brilliant, and he wears his heart on his sleeve. I think he's made for these types of games, isn't he?
Just don't be pushing Calvert-Lewin.
Yeah, don't be
no hands in the
please, Dejan.
Midfield then, I guess the one that started the other day is maybe got a shout. Wijnaldum, Henderson, Oxlade-Chamberlain. Is that how you go, Gorsty, or Milner maybe?
I think Milner might get a shout just for his big game experience. Klopp tends to favour him in certain big games, doesn't he? Particularly in the Champions League. So I think he might come in for this one I'd like to see Oxlade-Chamberlain keep his place, because I thought he played well on Saturday. I thought he offers quite a lot going forward, and he's always good for a goal, isn't he? Particularly at the moment when he scored 5 this season. But I think he might just reverse a little bit to type and go with Milner and Wijnaldum. Milner, Henderson and Wijnaldum.
Caoimhe, you're a staunch Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain advocate.
Yeah, I am, and he keeps his place for me. I just think he adds a little bit of something else, his ability to just push the ball, and his physique. He literally... He didn't quite get there on Saturday, but he just shows glimpses of excellence, and something that we don't really have, I don't think, in the midfield in terms of that. But it is difficult, because you kind of want Milner, you want your general in there, don't you, to just kind of keep things calm, because as soon as that whistle goes, it's just going to be nuts, isn't it? That chaos of Derby Day, especially under the lights. Liverpool fans, it'll feel like almost like a European night, won't it? But I do quite like when Milner comes on in the about 60 minutes after that, to shore things up. But then I'd want Milner on if a penalty, because I just feel like he's Mr. Cool, isn't he? And I don't really enjoy Salah taking penalties, It's not an enjoyable experience for me. He scores them, but I just don't like watching it. It just feels unnatural. I just like James Milner to be there, because you just kind of don't have to look, and you just know he's hopefully going to score. But maybe Milner to come on in the second half, just to if our heads go a little bit or whatever.
Okay, so we've got our midfield, bar the one dilemma, Milner or Oxlade-Chamberlain, and then up front, Gorsty, it's got to be the usual suspects.
Yes, they've actually never played as a front three against Everton, which is
really
an interesting one. Yeah, they were on the pitch last season when Klopp played a 4-2-3-1 in the 1-0 win at Anfield, but Xherdan Shaqiri was on the right.
Of course,
Firmino was behind Salah, and Mane was on the left. So as a front three, they've actually never played together against Everton. Dominic Solanke's led the line at times. Origi's been on in place of Firmino. So Everton have been let off the hook quite a lot over the last couple of years. We all know how devastating Liverpool's front three is, so hopefully Wednesday is a chance for them to all start together as that front three. They've scored 183 goals between them during their time together at Liverpool and haven't been unleashed on Everton so far yet, so they've got to start on Wednesday.
Caoimhe, any suggestion that Divock might sneak in for you, or is it those three?
I think he'll definitely come on to be the ghost of Christmas past only and maybe haunt Everton later on. You don't know, but I wouldn't be starting him. I think because it's one of them substitutes. Like as soon as they come on, it kind of puts fear into Everton of no, it's Origi. So I'd definitely hold that card close to your chest, Klopp. But yeah, the front three, I think they're due that kind of scintillating where they all get on the score sheet, aren't they? It's come and you feel. So obviously, I'd like to see that happen. But I've got a sneaky feeling Dejan Lovren might be among the goals,
Really?
Just got to,
Interesting.
yeah.
Well, the last thing then on the Blues game is predictions. I'll start because I'm the naysayer here. I just think they tried that new formation against Leicester, gave it a good little test drive, and I think it's not exactly saying we're an equivalent team. We play identically to Leicester, but tough away game, and gave reasonable account themselves. We're unlucky not to at least get a point. I'm going to go 1-1. So I want more positivity from you two, if possible.
Yeah, I think as Caoimhe said, Everton's confidence is way down there at the moment, isn't it? And the supporter attitude is, we're going to Anfield, of course we're going to get beat, from the one or two that you might speak to. So hopefully that will all combine just to help Liverpool a little bit more, and I can see them winning 2-0.
2-0, Caoimhe?
I'm a bit lost with this one. I'm like, are we going to win 2-1 again? Because we just keep winning 2-1. It's like, but I've just got a feeling Liverpool will be rampant, hopefully. But I feel like Everton will score just because obviously Adrian's coming in, and I just don't feel like the clean sheet's quite there yet with Liverpool. I'd like to think it is, but I'm feeling a good 4-1.
4-1.
Going for it.
Absolutely take that. Final word then. By the time this pod comes out, the Ballon d'Or will be almost upon us, and the odds currently have Lionel Messi, I think, a 12-1 on favourite. So, Gorst, it looks like the big man Virgil's going to just miss out to Messi, but no disgrace if that does pan out to be the case.
No, the fact that he's a centre back and he's got a legitimate chance of beating Messi is just astounding, really. There was a leak, wasn't there, on social media over the weekend, and 4 of the top 6 were Liverpool players, which included the goalkeeper. So that just shows you what a remarkable, sensational 12 months Liverpool have had as a collective, and on more so the Virgil van Dijk. World's best defender, no question. World's best player. Okay, Messi for me is the greatest footballer of all time. But if he's ever not going to win it, it could be tonight in Paris with Van Dijk taking it. We'll find out.
Caoimhe, I think as Gorsty said there, the fact that Liverpool have got so many candidates, so many nominees on the shortlist there, even if Van Dijk doesn't win it tonight, that tells the whole story, really, doesn't it?
It's massive, isn't it? 7 Ballon d'Or nominees. That is, what you'd expect of a Barcelona, Real Madrid, wouldn't you? Not Liverpool, but this is Liverpool now, and they are the best team in the world, full of world-class players. It's not, we had so many years where we just had 1 or 2. You had Gerrard in there. There's just the constant world class, and then people coming in like Suarez, Coutinho. But now it's like everyone's world class. I mean, even I am. But no, reports in Spain today suggesting that Messi's got it, and you couldn't be too disappointed, I don't think, because like Paul says, he is for me as well the greatest footballer of ever. So it's difficult, but for Van Dijk to be up there and almost win it, maybe he might. You don't know. These reports could all be false. Hopefully they are, because that would be absolutely magnificent, wouldn't it? And so deserved. He's been phenomenal. I haven't enjoyed watching a player in my life as much as I enjoy watching him play, and it's weird because he's a defender. You should want to watch, the attackers play, but at Anfield on Saturday, every time I see him live, I'm just looking at him thinking, wow, he just glides across the pitch. He wins every header, and obviously he scored 2 as well. Got himself a brace, and he's just a phenomenal player. He's captain of his national team. He's done so much for Liverpool, and I'm sure if he keeps knocking on this door and he does the same again this season, he'll be thereabouts again next year, won't he, with another nomination. And obviously you think the likes of Trent and Mane, Salah, they'll all be there, Alisson again. So, this is like, Liverpool, this isn't just a one season wonder thing. You think this is now going into the future, because if you look at all the Ballon d'Or nominees over time, it's usually the same players sort of sticking around, and Liverpool have that now.
Absolutely. Well, we'll leave it there. Best of luck to the big man tonight, and there'll be plenty of reaction on the Echo website. Either way, if it does go to Messi, if it does go to Van Dijk, or indeed someone else, one of the other Reds nominated, as Caoimhe said. So yeah, thank you for listening. We will be back with another instalment of Blood Red later in the week after the derby. Thank you very much.